What's good, everybody? Welcome back to Veterans Minimum. I'm your host, Nick Dayas10. At Veterans Minimum is where you can find everything for VM. My guy is in the building, Joe Fann. What's good, bro?
What up, Nick? Good to be back, man.
It's good
How we
to
doing,
see
bro?
you.
Good to be in studio with
man.
you.
It's good. And we have a very, very special guest, pass rusher, gold, royalty, Robert Mathis. What's up, man? Thank you for pulling up on us.
Oh, man. Thanks for having me out. Pleasant trip. So look forward to doing bigger and better things, man. So let's get after it.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting that you're here. And I was telling Joe this before we started recording because I feel like you have always been a dude that, based on the NFL fan, if I asked about you, if they knew about your game and knew you and would hype you up, that's when I would say to them, and I would start judging them, that they actually know the game. Because you were a guy that was so consistent. You never were like and hopefully you don't jump across the table and attack me on this one, but you were never on like people's list as like the best pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
But amongst the football fans, they're like, nah, that dude is a baller, consistent, there every week, and just always were productive.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment, and I agree with it. So I was never the guy that looked for the camera, the rah-rah, so it was perfect situation for me. My first year, I was playing with Dwight Freeney, and so he was getting all the attention, notoriety. It was like, that's fine. That's okay with me. So it was a great ride, 14 years, one club, and couldn't ask for anything more.
Robert, I used to be in the reporting world covering the NFL, covered a handful of teams, Titans, Niners, and Seahawks. And anytime you're talking to somebody who is, you know, even if it's in the prime of their career, they're doing something incredible and you want some sort of reaction of, what is this like? What does this mean to you? The competitor's answer is always, we'll deal with that. We'll reflect on that when it's all said and done. Like right now, I'm in the moment trying to win games with my team. I want to win a ring, all that. I would assume, given like you just mentioned, you weren't a limelight kind of guy. You were happy to let Dwight take that and you just do your work. What's it like? So then when you actually finish up, your last season was in 2016. Do you spend that time and say like, damn, I was a monster, 123 sacks, 54 forced fumbles, led the league in forced fumbles 3 times, led the league in sacks once. Like, that's impressive. Like, do you have that moment or several moments of reflection, like after you finally hang them up?
Well, exactly what you said. You don't reflect on it until the cake is baked, per se, which is, you know, after retirement, you have a chance to just sit down and just go through the game film and just look at from 2003 to 2016, because during the season, you're getting ready for the off season, and in the off season, you're getting ready for the season. But it was a hell of a ride. I can't, you know, I'm not gonna sneeze at the things that I was able to accomplish, and just to be able to play with my quarterback bash brother like Dwight. We always joke like, I can't say that. He stole a lot of my sacks, and we just go back and forth with the banter like that. But it was awesome just to be a part of that team, and also with playing with Peyton and Jeff Saturday. You know, guys like Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison, Edrin James.
Yeah, those teams were so
it
loaded.
goes on and on. And the run we had in the 2000s, it was just, it compares to nothing.
I think the coolest thing about you, too, is that you played with one team your whole career, which that's like the last of the dying breed, dude. Like, you don't see a lot of guys sticking out with one team, and especially at your position, too. You take honor in that?
That's the one thing I take a lot of pride in. I always say I was able to quit. I didn't get fired.
That's
so
dope.
being with the same team 14 years, especially in this day and age, free agency, is almost unheard of, especially when, like I said, I played with Peyton. He went to Denver. You look at Tom Brady, who's in Tampa now.
Reggie Wayne left.
Reggie
too.
Wayne. Just guys that are not able to go out with the same team that came in with. I'm forever indebted to the Colts with that. They gave me, they allowed me to start and finish in the same place. So
I think it's easy to look to, like, for fans. I mean, fans are fans of, by and large, are fans of the team, the colors, the logo, the jersey,
right,
before the players. And they have players. I mean, again, there are players that supersede that, but I think there's sort of, it's easy to have this notion of, well, this guy left or this guy didn't want to be here anymore. But it goes the other way just as much, especially for guys who say, I'm gonna play this thing out until I can't go anymore, as opposed to like I'm gonna walk away while the going's still good. I look at a guy like Bobby Wagner, who would have loved to play his entire career in Seattle. They didn't want him anymore. And they were the ones that cut him, and he went and signed elsewhere. So I do think there are so many factors at play and so many things that have to go right for that to happen. And it is really cool. Someone like yourself, who is such a legend to Colts fans, they don't have any sort of picture in their head of you wearing another jersey in the NFL, and that's pretty rad.
But also, let's also give him his flowers too. Dude was productive
For
till
sure.
the end. Also, it's not like they were doing you a favor. It's like, nah, man, you're balling. You're earning that right to be out there. With
so
them
many
too.
things have to go right. That boxes have to be checked for that to be the case. So
But
that
you
is
also
neat.
factor in the point that I wasn't as expensive as other guys. So the production was there, but also it still boils down to dollars and cents.
Yeah.
When you would, I always like to pick the brain of a professional athlete and think if you guys think like us also. Like when I go to a park and I'm playing basketball, I'm playing football, and someone is guarding me, I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna eat this dude up.
Oh yeah.
You have the same thing, right? Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
look at the schedule and you see, oh my God, this is gonna be a career day
Oh,
for me.
it goes in depth. So, like I said, you would look at the schedule. Okay, this is a stat game. This team, they suck. So I might get 2 or 3 sacks off of this team here. But you also would get to the game, and you would kind of the offensive tackle that I'm facing. I would just give him the kind of up down, kind of scan him. So if he had big ankles, I know I'm gonna kick his ass because he was too slow. But if he had small ankles, I said, okay, he's kind of athletic, so I might have to go in the bag of tricks a little bit. So it's little things like that absolutely we strategize and we game plan on the run.
You have that where not only is like the matchup going in favorable, but maybe someone gets hurt mid-game or like the week prior, and all of a sudden he and Dwight Freeney are going against a backup tackle, and you just think, oh, poor guy. That's got to be so tough.
Those are the good times, just the conversations that we have, and we try to. It's almost like a fight to get over there to go against. If it's a rookie or like a second or third string guy, we want to get over there. We want to get some reps and some rushes against that guy.
You don't gotta throw anyone under the bus on this one unless you want to. I'm always down to like go viral. Trying to build this show out. But you ever have rookies come in and within 1 or 2 practices or one session, you're like, man, he was a first round draft pick, and it's just not gonna work out. Like, has that ever happened? Or does it happen?
Or the opposite, where like you're like, oh, this dude's
Good
the stud.
call.
This
Good-
guy's
good
gonna
call.
be it.
Oh, that happens a lot. I can't think of any names off the top, but you like this guy was a first rounder or a second rounder, and a lot of that stems from, I guess, your draft stock. I went 5th round, but I also came from an HBCU, so I was okay with my draft status. But once you get there, and all you hear is about these big Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, these big old mythical guys, and they suck. They suck. And so it's just kind of like, okay, I belong here. I can play here. And then you also have guys that went undrafted. Gary Brackett. He was short, but then he come in and just straight took his spot. He took it. And so like on both sides of the coin, you have that. So it's never as good and it's never as bad as you think.
I mean, you mentioned the run you guys had, that core you had built in the 2000s with that Colts team. I mean, how close are you guys still? I mean, do you have buddies still from those playing days that you keep up with, or is there sort of a pride that group has just in terms of everything you guys are able to accomplish?
Absolutely. You still talk to guys because, I mean, during that time, you spend more time with these teammates than you do your own family. So those relationships, a lot of them are cemented. And then you have just recently the Ring of Honor with Tarek Glenn. And just to see all the guys you played with over the years come back, and it was a great time. And all you can talk about is just the good old days. And now you find yourself sounding like Deacon Jones, like, man, these little young, they saw they back in my day. I say, oh man, I said
you
that.
walked
Back in my
uphill in
day.
the snow both ways, man.
Yep. So we're those guys now.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually a good segue into one of the questions that we had for you about pass rushers nowadays. And before we get into like who you like watching, are you a fan with pass rushing nowadays with these new rule sets though? Like with the quarterback?
Roughing the passer.
You about to start some stuff now.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's stir the pot.
Dude, I'm trying to go
Because I don't know
viral.
how you can't watch these games and think
Man, come on, let's go.
it's not football.
It's soft. It's just soft right now. You can't touch the quarterback. You can't chip his fingernail. You can't hurt his. You can't say anything to him. It was like 2 or 3 games. The game hung in the balance, and a flag at the end of the game dictated whether a drive was kept going or whether.
Are you talking about the Chiefs Colts game earlier this year with Chris Jones and Matt Ryan?
I get it. It's the Colts or whatever. We appreciate it, but no, as a pass rusher, that was crap. That was
Especially
crap.
for an established dude like Chris Jones, not a rookie.
Yeah.
And it was also before he said something. I still don't know what he said. It was another. What was that? Was it 2? The game.
It was there was one with Brady and
Tom Brady.
and
Falcons.
Jared, yeah.
Of course. So it was that was another bull BS call. But it's just like, what are you gonna do? You got to play within the confines of the rules. It started with the strike zone, Tom Brady rule, and I mean it's tougher playing now because like we was talking earlier. Like Drew Bledsoe, he was one of the hardest guys ever to tackle. Like my rookie year, a lot of people wouldn't believe that, but those quarterbacks in the early 2000s, they got the business. They got body slammed and threw in the mud and got roughed up. So they definitely earned their stripes. And then the further back you go, the more respect they get. Like Dan Marino, man, Bradshaw. These quarterbacks, they used to get forearms to the head and all this stuff, but now you can't say anything that's gonna hurt their feelings, and that is terrible.
You mentioned that you're still in the Indianapolis area, in the hour radius or around the city, so you stay close by. What are you up to these days, man? Like, catch us up with where you're at in life and what's going on with you.
Well, I do training, youth football, college football, high school, and pro. And we have it's called Original Gridiron Gang. And so we just do across the board, just more like a mentorship. It's not just football training. It's all sports across the board, speed, agility. We got football position specific. But the unique part is that all of our children, we scholarship them. Most of them, we scholarship them. And just to give rural area and also inner city children the opportunity to train with elite instructors, just like, anybody like Penn or whatnot. And so, like military families, like today, salute to service. Appreciate all you do. Appreciate all you do. You guys are the real heroes, not us. Understand that. But giving them access to training by elite instructors, teaching them the importance of dining etiquette, social media awareness, teaching them don't tweet that at age 14, and when you turn 24 trying to get a job, that same tweet is going to come bite you. And also financial literacy. So those are the 3 pillars that we harp on, because you will hear guys that play professional sports say, I wish I had known that way back then. And so we kind of use that to just to parlay that into we're going to pour into them. If you can learn something in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade that grown men are just now learning, you're going to be that much further ahead of the game. And like I said, not just football. It's financial literacy, social media, dining etiquette, just necessary tools for success in life as young men. So that's where we at.
I noticed some of your Gridiron Gang clips implement some sort of, I look at it as like martial arts, like with the 1-2s, and you're using MMA pads.
Yeah.
Was that something you were doing in training?
That came along, like I started my career like midway. I started doing boxing training, and that was like, this was good stuff. It really teaches you proper and precise hand strikes. And so later in my career, I did MMA and boxing. So with like the grappling and the locks and the holds and how to get out of it, because O-linemen, they hold. O-linemen, they always hold. And so you got to get out of that. And so it's real key. But with the training sticks, I just thought one day, like, you know what, let me use this. Because me using my hands and shoulders are starting to hurt from these heavy-handed dudes, man. So I started using training sticks. And that's what martial art, they do the same thing. So it's a lot of correlation, especially when you going in the football field. In the trenches, O-line, D-line is hand-to-hand combat. And it's serious. So there's a lot of guys out here doing the training and they're doing a great job. So it's just a new trend right now.
You mentioned that, before we started recording, that you'll be, watching on Sundays, but you're watching in the trenches. And, and maybe everything else is sort of peripheral in terms of headlines around the league and such. But Nick kind of alluded to it earlier. Who are some of the guys that you look at and say, oh, yeah, that guy's the real deal?
Of course, my favorite pass rusher in this generation is Von Miller.
Yeah.
But this
timeless.
This Brian Burns out of Carolina.
Yep.
I like him because he does some stuff. He's spin, cross chop, stutter. He does it all. But I was just looking at, I want to say it's the 2011 pass rusher draft class. They might be the greatest of all time because you got J.J. Watt, Robert Quinn, Von Miller, not Chandler Jones, but Cameron Jordan. Might be,
and Alden Smith was in that class.
Alden Smith, man, it's like they got some Justin Houston, some guys that got drafted, and they all in the 100-sack club, all at the same. I mean, yeah. So those are the guys I watch them, and you also have, of course, Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
And so, and he came 2 years later, 2013.
Yep.
And he's on pace to get to 200 sacks. But
101 for sure.
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned Brian Burns because last couple years, Carolina hasn't been that good of a team, and a lot of people will like dump on their defense. Like, they don't got no playmakers. And then going how I set up this whole conversation with him about when you mention a guy like Brian Burns, that's when you could say, all right, this guy's actually watching the game.
I wish I could pull up a tweet 2 years ago. I asked if we could trade for him.
Yeah.
I saw he was going to be that guy. And he was like, nope, don't worry about it. I'm like,
so we got to talk about your Colts because this is a very topical time to be talking about your former team. An interesting season, to say the least. Let's just start with the headline of the week and Jeff Saturday replacing Frank Reich out of nowhere, at least to most people. And I think probably even to him because he said when he was there for the Ring of Honor stuff a couple weeks ago, they didn't discuss it. So
yeah, it was.
What was your reaction? What are your takeaways? And what do you expect from him?
Well,
knowing him, obviously, so well from how long you guys played together.
Yeah, my reaction was like, wow.
Wow.
But it's also, if there was one guy that I knew can pull this off, if it was three guys, he's one of those three because he was actually he was our leader. My time as a young whippersnapper coming in 03, so you have Peyton and Marv, you have all these big names, but it was Jeff was that centerpiece, and he led the charge. He had the tough conversations. He'd get in your face and he would straighten the coaches out if needed be for the players or whatnot. But I can definitely see him having success. But it was just I wish them well. So I know they're gonna do some good things because he commands that. He knows how to lead men, and that's the main thing they need right now, a leader of men.
Yeah, it feels like that's sort of I get both sides of it. I get the frustration where you've got guys who have spent their whole lives in coaching, and that's their ultimate goal to get this opportunity, and then to hear Jim Irsay say, "I'm happy that he has no experience. That's a benefit." Like, how could that possibly be something you're looking for? But then at the same time, I think sometimes we overstate what's needed from head coaches from an X's and O's standpoint because so much of what you have to do as head coach is You got to be the CEO, and you have to get the buy-in from the offense, defense, special teams, everyone, your coaching staff, and make sure that, everything is happening the way it needs to when it's practices, film room, all of that. And it sounds like, at least from what you're saying, he has those leadership qualities that could at least line things up. And then there's something to be said for a team that shows up ready to play hard on Sunday, regardless of what's happening and has happened previously. And that's what I'm curious to see what happens. And not just against the Raiders on Sunday, but moving forward for the rest of the year.
A lot of what he's going to pull from Coach Dungy. Yeah. And that's no excuses, no explanations off the top, but also letting your coaches do their jobs. So the talent is there. And that's the disappointing thing about this season is all this talent that we have and is not being manifested. And Jeff is going to kind of put the feet to the fire and just look, do your job. And whatever needs to be said, let me handle the things that's beyond your control. But just kind of calm the storm right now.
Yeah, and you recently, that video was surfacing when he got the job of him and Peyton going at it one time. It was like that famous viral video. And like going back to what you were saying, Robert, about how he has no issues with standing up for himself. And if he thinks someone is doing the wrong thing, he'll let you know about it. It don't matter. And that's Peyton Manning, right? Like there's like a God figure in Indianapolis.
I got one better for you. And it involved Jeff and Peyton. I was, maybe first or second year defensive end. We just broke meetings. And you hear them down the hall going at each other, just arguing. So they come to the locker, and they sit next to each other in the locker room. And Jeff just like, don't you ever do that again. We was going to play the Patriots. He like, I will Olay Vince Wilfork, and he will crush you. Don't you do it? I mean, and I said, oh. And he's talking to Peyton like this. So that kind of put in perspective, like, he's going to say what needs to be said. So he's not going to back down from anybody. He's not going to back down from a challenge. But to your point, it's like, there are other coaches that, this is what they did for years and stuff like that. So it's kind of like we used to say when you bring in a basketball player to play tight end or something, like, Gates, Gonzalez, they great players, but they took an opportunity from a guy that did this from Pop Warner all the way up. And it is what it is when it boils down to it. It is what it is.
I'm curious your thoughts on the team in general. When I look at this Colts team and really where they've been the last 3 years, I have two takeaways. One is I think they're sort of proving that you can't skip the rebuild process when it comes to quarterback, or at least it's very hard to. The Broncos did it with Peyton, but the Colts have unsuccessfully done it with Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, and now Matt Ryan when trying to get the last bit of production you can out of an aging quarterback. And then two, I think going into the season, the Colts, maybe just as much as anybody, had such a very clear definition of what their identity was going to be: standout offensive line play and an elite running game. But when that is your identity and then it falters and you don't have a backup plan, you're not multiple enough, you're not versatile enough, particularly offensively, to be able to make up for that and compensate for that, you're in a world of hurt. And I think we've seen that. I mean, Matt Ryan was a turnover machine, wasn't protected. They don't have enough pass catchers for him on the outside. Jonathan Taylor's been hurt. And so I'm curious if that's maybe a fair evaluation, and also just in general this year, but also the last 2 or 3 years, how you have felt about the trajectory of this Colts franchise.
I think it goes back to the old mantra, overworked, underappreciated, and that applies to the O-line. If we had protected Andrew Luck, we'd still have Andrew Luck.
Yes.
Put money into the O-line. Now, fast forward. You got to protect the quarterback. The quarterback is the engine to every NFL car, vehicle. It is the quarterback. No quarterback, no chance. And if you can't protect him, no chance, because it's something that I tell my guys. There's like there's a hierarchy. The most important players in the NFL is the passer, the guy that chases the passer, the pass rusher, the guy that protects the passer, the left tackle, and the pass catcher. So those are the four positions that's going to always be priority and tops. And and I go even further. I tell my guys, as far as the pass rusher, we're number 2 because if I can beat this left tackle, sack the quarterback, take the football from him so he can't throw it to his pass catcher, I've neutralized 3 guys on one play. And like I said, the quarterback is the most important piece on the team, but he needs protection and he needs somebody to catch the damn ball. So that's the hierarchy. So if you don't protect this quarterback, you don't have a chance. That's the O-line. As much as I hate to admit that, the O-line, they got to be that building block. And Jeff Saturday was that building block along with the O-lineman during our run in the 2000s. Jeff, Tarek Glenn, Ryan Dean, who doesn't get enough credit, notoriety or whatnot. Then you have the guards, Ryan Lilja. These guys, it'd be certain games that they be just full of dirt, but Peyton is clean. And that's what you want to see.
Your Colts, that tenure that you were with them, with Peyton and Reggie and all those guys, that's how I break down how I would build a franchise. Find a quarterback, protect them, go after theirs. And that's what you guys were doing.
It's Bill Polian. That was his blueprint.
Yeah.
He's Peyton, Dwight, Robert. Peyton, you get the lead. Dwight and Robert, you keep the lead. That was it. Tony Dungy said that.
Whether it was the regular season or playoffs, there were always Colts-Patriots matchups, and it was always Peyton versus Brady, which is always a sort of silly thing because they never are on the field at the same time. But it is a Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis versus Tom Brady matchup that was such a marquee. I mean, not just the regular season meetings, but the postseason as well. Yeah. What are your thoughts on TB12? I'm just going to give you the mic, and I have no idea how you feel about it, but why not ask you about a guy that you saw up close and personal on a lot of big stages?
It took me a long time to admit it, but you got to give the man his flowers. He's that guy when it comes to quarterback play. A lot of battles, and you knew that week going into the Patriots game, it was just different. And the year we played them in the AFC Championship, that was our Super Bowl. No disrespect to the Bears, it was these damn Patriots. We got to beat them. And once we got over that hump, and I'm not speaking arrogantly, we knew we were going to win the Super Bowl. We just had to get over this hump. Playoffs, Patriots, had 20-6 halftime. We had to overcome a lead, and it was just so much stuff that we had to overcome that against Tom freaking Brady. So
he talk shit?
No, but if he thinks he deserves a flag, he's gonna let the ref know, and he's gonna get that flag. So I'll say that. But he doesn't talk shit.
Did you?
No. We had a lot of guys that did, but I never really, myself and Dwight, we never really just talked. But because we had to deal with the O-lineman, so we just kind of save our energy. And I never want to give anybody fuel. Yeah. So I'm just, if I can get to the quarterback, I'm just, hey, let's do it again. Yep. But if an O-lineman starts talking trash, I might clap back a little bit. Yeah.
Damn, dude, that's crazy. I know. We went past it a little bit, but with Andrew Luck, you were talking about, Joe, about the quarterbacks that they brought in on one-year trials. It's kind of like the curse of Andrew Luck, like what Robert was saying about how they didn't protect him, right? Like everyone was saying they had Peyton Manning for all those years, and that one down year where he didn't play, they get Andrew Luck, and everyone's saying, yo, the Colts for the next, that 30-year window, they're going to have Peyton for 14 plus and then Andrew Luck. And you not being able to protect them is why I think that's been the tailspin of the Andrew Luck saga, and it's still playing out to this day.
Yeah, I think in general there's sort of this thought with quarterbacks is once you have a really good one, you sort of expect that quarterback to mask every other deficiency you have. It's like, all right, well, you have these pedestrian receivers. Well, make them great.
Yeah.
Because it's happened before. And also your offensive line can't protect, so you just got to get the ball out quicker. And I think you see that with a lot of young quarterbacks, and it's like, okay, you've invested there, but the investments has to continue throughout the rest of the offense if you're really going to maximize what this guy can do. I look at what Justin Herbert's trying to deal with right now. I mean, it ain't
Aaron
pretty.
Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, certainly. Yeah. I mean, the way they've dealt with Aaron Rodgers, thank goodness for Devontae Adams for all those years, but when you're refusing to invest in that second pass catcher, things are going to be a challenge. And even a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who to me is probably the most physically gifted quarterback I've ever watched, there's only so much he can do. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a fascinating conversation.
All you do is in this today's football, you just got to look at the blueprint. Okay, Peyton had Marvin first round, Reggie first round, Dallas Clark first round, Tarek Glenn first round, Edgerrin James first round, Joseph Adai first round. You have to build around the quarterback. Okay, Aaron Rodgers, he's an exceptional talent, but it's coming home to roost now. And you can only do so much. You got to have more than one guy. I mean, outside the quarterback, it has to be 2 and 3 guys to stay at elite levels.
Helps when you get Robert Mathis in the 5th.
Hey, appreciate it.
Yeah,
Hey, I just want
just
an
call
opportunity.
spade a spade. Again, I mean, I'm a Seattle guy, so when you look at Richard Sherman in the 5th, Cam Chancellor in the 3rd, Bobby Wagner in the 2nd, like, those add up really quickly when you're getting all pro level production from a guy who was drafted on day 2 or even day 3. I mean, that makes a difference.
I'm glad you brought up the Seahawks. They went back-to-back not one, but they went to back-to-back Super Bowls, right? And they did that with a quarterback on his rookie deal. The same draft that Andrew Luck got drafted in, Russell Wilson, goes there. And he has a team, offense, defense, the running game, O-line. It was there while he was on his rookie deal. So once it's time to pay this quarterback, now decisions have to be made. But until then, build around them. And especially when you got all that salary cap money, go for broke.
And again, it goes back to what the Colts are doing. They haven't gone to that reset button where they're paying average quarterbacks $30 million a year. It does limit what you can do elsewhere.
Well, yeah, having a quarterback, a rookie quarterback. Also, we need him to be good too, right? Like there are quarterbacks that are on rookie.
Andrew Luck was good.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, I totally agree with you. But if you look at the last couple of Super Bowl winners, with the exception of being Brady because he left to go to Tampa and Stafford, but that Eagles team that won the Super Bowl, Wentz was on a rookie deal. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the Seahawks. You had the Chiefs with Mahomes. Like that's a huge luxury.
Cincinnati.
But yeah, Cincinnati going last year. But back to your point though, it don't mean nothing if you're not building around them.
You're not building around them. Got to build around the quarterback. So
I got one more thing I want to ask him, and I'm fascinated by this because I like to gamble. I'm a sports bettor. Were you ever aware of the betting lines when you were playing, or was that bulletin board material? Like, oh, they got us as underdogs. How'd that come about?
Every now and then, but it was more so. When it was egregious, then we're gonna put that on the bulletin board. Like, how the hell are we picked to lose to these guys, these bum ass? But so we put that on the bulletin board. But most times it's a quote that a guy or a coach or somebody may say. Oh, we're going to plaster that. So whatever kind of extra motivation we can use, we're going to use it.
Damn, so that's like a real thing, right?
Oh, you come in there, every locker room has a bulletin board. And if you give somebody some material, that's the first thing going up before the players even come in that building.
To follow up on that, maybe some bulletin board material on Sunday for the Colts with Josh McDaniels on the other sideline, a guy who turned away the Colts at the altar, said he was going to take the job, then backed out. That's the only reason Frank Reich was even there. Mm-hmm. Is that something where you feel that's a thing for you as someone who's a prideful, alumni of the organization, or maybe they're thinking about this week?
That's still kind of a sensitive spot for me because I was actually a coach on that staff when that was about to happen. And for him to do a pivot like that, I can say what I want. That was a punk move. I can say what I want. But it is what it is, and I just hope the Colts go out and just hang 50 on them.
He might get fired.
That would be poetic justice.
The Raiders have blown 3 17-point leads this season, and if they lose to the Jeff Saturday-led Colts,
that would be poetic justice.
Yeah.
Ooh, I say we go and make some calls. We make some bets, dude. Because think about it, right? Coming back full circle. That's the team that you did that punk move
Chef's
on.
Kiss.
Yeah. And then that's the team that ends up getting you out. Man, that just fired me up. Yeah. That just got me hyped.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Joe, is there anything else you want to?
Nah, this has been fun, man. I appreciate you inviting me back. Super fun to have Robert here, kicking it with us in Vegas, man. Have fun at the game. Thanks for hanging out, dude. Thank you for hosting us here. This has been awesome.
Yeah, man, it was great. It was great to connect with you and to have you on the show. And I mean what I said in the beginning, dude. You were a guy who I would always use as a reference to understand if people actually watch the game and know the game. And it was an honor to have you on the show. And thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. It was a good run. So all good things come to an end. So I had a good time. Appreciate you guys for having me.
Is there anything you need to plug, promote, anything you're working on? The floor is yours, man.
The originalgridirongang.com. The skill, not scheme team.
Love it.
Love it.